Because especially if you can get Canna isolated into a matchup where, like the Mbessa, he can punish, I think he'll be okay.
And G2 chose blue side after KC chose first pick. G2 have made a habit of choosing blue side over the course of playoffs when they are put into that pick your side rather than pick your pick. Peter Piper picked first pick for KC, and the bans coming in quickly here as the Vi is removed by KC. G2 going to answer with a Varus ban of their own. Last time we saw the Yunara getting banned out, Azir as well in this first phase. We
did see G2 banning away the Rumble. Now, in the past, what we would say is G2 don't play Rumble. They avoid playing it at all costs, but we've seen a bunch of Rumble from Broken Blade this split. So if they are banning away the Rumble, usually it indicates that they just don't want to prioritize first picking it. I expect that Rumble ban to come through because it is one of Canna's best champions. When you think of Canna as a player, the champions that come to mind are Jace, Gnar, and Rumble. And generally you are a little bit worried when he gets his hands onto one of those three. Let's see what G2 decide to take away as we are going to see the Azir ban.
I like this Azir ban from G2. I think Caps is significantly more comfortable when he's able to kind of keep the matchup in a position where he can trade effectively and find really good avenues to trade. Azir just makes that very difficult at the moment, especially with the Orianna now taken away. We have seen him play things like the Taliyah into it, but I definitely think like if you can force kyeahoo onto the Taliyah or something along these lines and you can counterpick with an Anivia or a Ryze, I think that's where Cap shows really what he's made of.
We are pushing a little bit further towards that Ryze. 2 AD carries, a mid laner and a jungle removed so far. Obviously, we are in Fearless as well, so anything that was played in Game 1, like the meta stalwart that is Shen, can't be picked in the rest of the draft. Jack's the final ban for KC. I wonder if they're looking towards something like that Gnar in the top side, or even like a Renekton, possibly.
Yeah, it's curious.
Generally, I expect Renekton to be good into the Jax. So
true.
Normally, when you see a Jax ban, it's because you're worried about Mbessa, but with Mbessa already gone, so there must be something. Gwen is the other thing that I am thinking of as well.
It's also like an old school counter to Xin Zhao. So unless they want to like just hard force an early Xin Zhao here, that's what they're eyeing up. Maybe that's what they're thinking.
But Ryze is the first pick. No real surprises there for KC. Such a strong mid laner right now, does so much damage as soon as you get that actualizer, and kyeahoo, having played it once, has won once on it in 2026.
But so regularly we've seen the Anivia as an answer, or the Cassiopeia. Caps has played exceptionally well on that Anivia, and I imagine that will be kind of where he goes towards again. But Ashe hovered at the moment. Are we just going to get an immediate slam of the Ashe Seraphine?
I mean, I can see the Freljord comp starting to be developed. As you were saying, there's a lot of answers into Ryze right now. Depending on how much Caps prioritize it, they may very well just focus on securing that bottom lane. Junglers have taken a bit of a back foot for G2, it seems, right now. But we know that bot lane is important in this series. Caliste and Busio, when you give them a winning matchup, they seem to run away with the game, and they're a scary force to be reckoned with. So wanting to guarantee yourself a strong bot lane 2 versus 2 does make a lot of sense to me. G2 are using as much of the time as possible, but it's SkewMond's Mundo. Something that he definitely made a name for himself throughout last year on. We've seen Mundo rise in popularity. In fact, we saw Koi consistently ban this away from KC yesterday, and now he'll get his hands on it again.
Actually, the third most banned champion against G2 this year. 42% of games it is banned against them. We have yet to see SkewMond bring it out with how much it's banned or picked away from them. So it was something that we saw with the Orianna combo a lot last year, and we'll see how effective SkewMond can be on it here. Immediate answer, though, of the Naafiri, and there is the Gwen as well we were talking about from that Jax ban.
I mean, I want to chime in on that Mundo point. Like, SkewMond's Mundo is what inspired Ona's Mundo. Like, that's how much of an impact he had on the world stage, and then later this year, how much of an impact it's had. And credit to him, seeing him pilot the champion is going to be exciting. As like responding with this Naafiri, a lot more early game agency. Your ability to skirmish in the early game is promising, and KC definitely drafted a strong topside draft to have that early skirmishing power.
They also tried to snooker G2 into getting even more top lane bans away. But picking the Gwen here, you almost have to guarantee that you're going for Seraphine, and third is G2. So taking Gwen, you can now ban away more of those top lane champs, guarantee that good matchup for Canna by trying to force Broken Blade into these more tank-orientated picks. And now you've kind of got two side lanes that you can play through very effectively with a Naafiri that is excellent at ganking for them.
I wonder if Renekton will hit the ban board from the side of KC. Something that I think eventually the Gwen outscales, but early on can be a very difficult matchup for her to play. Seems that Gnar's going to be the focus for now. And naturally supports. That just makes a ton of sense. Yep. Things like I mean, Busio isn't a blitzcrank player, but something you always have to be mindful of. Nico, Thresh, all those just very common supports that we see in response to Seraphine, given how squishy she is. Hard engaged champions can be difficult for her to deal with, especially if they have a hook.
KC are lacking a little bit of that hard engage so far. Something like the Alistair could be okay, but only having a little bit of CC into the Mundo can be a bit of a struggle, and getting like through the laning phase is going to be really difficult into an Ashe and a Seraphine.
Yeah, I'm trying to go through the enchanters in my head. I think it's probably something like a Karma. Maybe you just go Karma Jhin. It's not exactly the best like as a combo, but at least you can try and push out the wave, and you can still have Jhin then match some of that utility that is provided by the Ashe later on.
I mean, Ezreal is the one that kind of speaks to me. Just actually try not to play the 2 versus 2, pick a support that can just roam around the map. Alistair can work in that sense. But the biggest thing is you need an AD carry that can deal with Mundo at a certain point.
Yeah.
And
you do have Gwen and Naafiri and Ryze.
You could argue that that could be a way of dealing with it. But also, I guess, like, I find that health regeneration is just very good into mages. Of course, they are DPS mages.
Oh!
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 That is a Yasuo locked in.
It's a Yasuo top lane for BB.
A bit of Nako inspiration, perhaps.
I mean, BB used to bring this out all the time into the Gnar. It was like his pick.
Yeah,
at
did he bring it out
MSIs.
into Gwen?
I'm not saying, look, okay, Benny, when he did it or Gwen he didn't, I don't know, okay? But perhaps
good one.
at
That's
some
a good
point,
one.
thank you.
Is it going to Broken Blade or is it going to Caps?
We'll find out.
We will.
But there's that Ezreal that we were talking about. The thing that concerns me about Ezreal is its ability to kill Mundo. Poke is strong, though, into Mundo, kind of forcing him to use that all early can be a play. And right now, KC have a decent amount of poke, but they have like this strong skirmishy top side and a relatively safe bot side. 1-3-1 seems to be the name of the game for KC, but I'm super interested in how G2 close out this draft.
Because you don't really have the knockup providing for Yasuo. He's going to be very self-reliant at the moment. I'm not really sure what to do, but I mean, there is some knockup and definitely something that can answer into the Ryze in the mid lane. So it looks like it will be the Yasuo into Gwen.
I mean, gentlemen, I need to get Finn on the line right now because there's too many top matchups.
Because in my head, right, at least you can close the gap onto the Gwen, right? And with the Hollowed Mist, if you try and get that long range of the last breath, it makes it a little bit more difficult. So you kind of have to close the gap and try and set things up. So I imagine, though, it's like very effective in the trading because Gwen likes to go for these extended trades where she can build up her passive, then use that Q damage and try and extend the trade that way. But for Yasuo, he can get in, use that wave, Q very quickly, and just start to chip you down over time as well.
I mean, I very much think about it in the context of scaling. And when I think of a Gwen, I think about when she's at 3 items, who deals with her in a side lane. And so when you pick things like Yone, you're saying, well, I will outscale you. I'm going to just get stronger the later this game goes because I think that in the later game, this champ does that. And that's what I think the goal of this Yasuo is. Because when I compare the side lanes, I think that G2 have more than enough wave clear and more than enough skirmishing power to actually match them in the 1-3-1. And then when you think about the amount of poke, I do give a slight edge to Ezreal. And I guess when paired with a Karma, I mean, it's a very interesting game because I think both comps want to do very similar things. The biggest difference is in the junglers and how they prefer to play.
We do have a small pause as we get on into the game. We'll get that sorted as soon as possible, obviously. But yeah, an eclectic draft from both teams.
We got an update from production.
Yeah, I saw it and I was like, I don't need to talk about that right now.
I think it's worth talking about.
Go ahead.
So we got an update from production that BB lost the game of Yasuo in solo queue 4 hours ago. So whether this is just about proving a point, I'm going to assume that it is about strategic integrity, and it makes a ton of sense because it does make sense in the context of scaling. I'm excited to see how it plays out in the lane. I can see how Yasuo would win in the 1v1, but I do not have enough technical understanding of the matchup to say with confidence that it is guaranteed to be Yasuo favored.
Do you want another BB loses on Yasuo?
Okay,
Last 2 games he's played it, he lost.
So he's on a 2-game lose streak with Yasuo?
Yeah, at Spring last year against BDS and Giantex, G2 lost both of those games. Before that, though, Worlds 24, he did beat BLG. So, you know, it swings and roundabouts.
His win rate does look positive overall.
Yeah, 60%, 66. He's playing 9 games,
wins.
1 6 of them.
So we did find out that there is an issue with runes loading into the game. So the game is being remade, so we'll be back into game in about 3 minutes time. So you're just going to be looking at the crowd, listening to us yap about this game. But honestly, it's been a really fun weekend so far here in Barcelona.
Nice.
And we've seen a bunch of interesting things. Yesterday we got to see some of the the great elements of Fearless, going all the way to Game 5, the fact that Yike brought out the Kha'Zix, we saw the Gwen jungle, which obviously didn't have a huge amount of impact, but this creativity that we're seeing from teams is something that we expect in Game 5. The fun thing about G2 is that you get to see it in Game 1 and Game 2 with some of the stuff that BB has prepared.
Yeah, but I love the interview that Shox did with Yike earlier on, where he's talking about how the team just trusted him. Yike was like, look, I need to play Kha'Zix in this sort of situation. And the team just went, yeah, go for it. Yep. Like, we understand you as a player, we know what you need to do, and we fully trust you in this situation. And he took over the game, and he said it going into draft, I'm going to take over the game. But it was, you know, Yahoo who supported him immediately, and both in the draft and then when they got to the game. And I think that's incredible to see, because so often teams kind of end up pushing themselves into this pigeonhole of this is who we are as a team and this is what we can do. But both of these teams have showcased that, no, we have that flexibility. When it comes towards G2, it's Broken Blade just played Shen. Now he's on Yasuo. The man is on every side of the equation. And he really has stepped up over the course of playoffs as well. So I'm just excited to see how this is all going to pan out.
But this is also what BB does. We've seen it for years now, where he will come into playoffs, he'll come into tournaments, he'll come into events, and he'll just have a pick ready. I want to say it was 2 years ago where he had the Zac, and then Yike was his jungler, and it was Zac Rek'Sai. They played it early on in the tournament, and then every team ban, right? And he's brought it out with the Warwick last year.
Warwick wasn't as effective.
But it was at the start, remember? Because they did come up with the Warwick plus Pantheon combo, which attacking the side lanes was super effective. He was also one of the early adopters of Rek'Sai in the top lane. Like, Broken Blade has always been someone that's not afraid to try new things in the top side. And obviously we've criticized him before for things like, well, why don't you play Rumble? Like, it's all cool. They play all this other stuff, but then he's been playing a bunch of the Rumble. So I think he's trying his best to be that super complete player that can provide a bunch of curveballs. And it's going to be up to KC to try and shut that down.
And on the other side, KC have been really inventive with their drafts as well. Both all three of Caliste, Yike, and Canna have played 13 different champions over the course of LEC Versus. And remember, a lot of that was best of one, so you could just play the same champion on repeat. I really like the fact that when you have a KC draft, every lane can carry. Yahoo's been carrying through playoffs. Yike has been absolutely popping off. We see Canna pop-offs. We see the bot lane pop-offs. Sometimes it can cause a bit of strife when the person that needs to carry isn't having the time of their lives. But I love the fact that when you look at a KC game and a KC lineup, especially one like this, you've got Gwen, Naafiri, Ryze, Ez-Karma perhaps a little bit quieter, but we've seen Caliste absolutely pop up on the Ezreal over the last couple of years.
But the thing is, as you say, like, it does open them up in the draft, because it's not about the team fight, it's about a 1-3-1 here, right? Because you're like, well, Yahoo can pop off. He just stood as a brick wall yesterday, tanked a bunch of spells and murdered his main opponent on the Ryze, and now you got the Canna on this Gwen. But I do think it's going to be interesting to see, you know, how do G2 try and shut down the early game? Because I think that's where Caps has been most exceptional, is finding these moments to roam, and especially on a pick like a Taliyah. Can you find access to these side lanes, and particularly this Gwen, to start Broken Blade snowballing and try and shut Canna down early?
Well, the teams have redone the draft. We're loading into game. We're going to be getting into game 2 very soon. And I'm expecting both mid laners to be running the Ghost rather than the Teleport. I'm hoping that we get to see a lot of roaming from both our mid laners. Yahoo did have an impressive performance on the Ryze yesterday, but we know that Caps is the man when it comes to roaming around the map and looking to have an impact. And as always, that top lane, that bot lane, it's going to be volatile. It's going to be action-packed. I'm hoping for an intense game 2 here between KC and G2.
Yeah, I think we all are. I think KC fans
no, I'm actually hoping for a slow one.
Yeah, it can be, something can be slow and intense. You know? It's like camping. Very slow, quite intense. Usually.
I hate you, just to be clear.
What if you go in a hammock, though? You know?
Can still be in a tent.
That'll be awkward, though.
Yeah, could be. Let's get on to the Rift. Let's do it. G2 versus KC here in LEC Versus. The top dogs from winter last year, once again taking to the stage here in the finals of Versus 2026. Labrov's going to get a ward in that middle bush bot side. Immediately pinged out by KC, who put in a ward of their own. Top side, nothing really happening. Caps actually sneaking in and getting a ward towards the blue buff. No matter who wins, this has been an amazing series. Been one game.
Clearly they are very happy with how game 1 went.
Yeah.
Huge damage team comp. It's true.
It's true.
There's a lot of damage kind of everywhere.
I feel for Labrov, because you die very quickly when an Naafiri jumps on you. You do have the encore, but that can be dodged. Naafiri leaps up into the air and is untargetable. Range supports trading, and Busio coming out on top of the support health bar, but Caliste has been chunked out a little bit. Lands a nice Mystic shot there onto Hans Summer. But Hans Summer and Labrov have the push, and we'll try and get that level 2 first.
It is difficult to try and trade back effectively, though Busio doing a decent job here. Heal just to try and keep Labrov out of reach. Yeah, again, you just have so much range, and that volley is so effective here with the push from Labrov as well.
G2's bot lane do have a health advantage. They've also got the barrier advantage, but the level 2 about to come through.
Ooh, Busio rooted there. Hans Summer's going to step forward. Does have that barrier, as you say, Vedi. It's a cleanse for Caliste, but with the heal still being available for Busio, Caliste's health popped up and has gone through his pots.
You can see that both junglers pathing in different directions right now, so I wonder if... I guess the plan from SkewMond is he's going to try and leverage the push that he's expecting this bot lane to have, but Busio and Caliste doing a really good job of fighting for that. It looks like kyeahoo not going to get the same level 2 advantage that he got yesterday against Jojo. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Broken Blade getting that early push. This I very much expected. Yasuo, especially when you get that level 2, pushes the wave so quickly if he wants to. Using that E and Q combo, the very low cooldowns give you so much wave clear that Gwen not going to respect it. Sorry, not going to be able to match it, but ignites in the top lane, ghosts in the mid lane. Gentlemen, this is it. This is what the changes were for. Why you top laners now get given a free TP. Why mid laners have that the upgraded boots and the faster recalls and all this cool stuff. No more TPs everywhere, more kill spells.
Canna still has TP, Vedi. He
Okay,
has
fine,
no
he still has
flash
the
on the
TP.
Gwen. Ignite TP, the choice here for Canna. Does mean that if he's caught out, he doesn't really have an easy way to escape. The hallowed mist and the skip and slash can try and get him to safety. We see the junglers on opposite sides of the map. SkewMond a little bit quicker on his
SkewMond's
clear.
going bot, though.
Now pathing down
he's
towards
just,
the bottom side, but I think he's just going to recall. Was spotted on a ward.
I was going to say, it's really easy for Hans and Labrov to set up on some sort of play here, because if Hans flashes forward on towards Busio, gets an auto attack, you then have to basically get away as Busio, because any sort of slow coming through from Labrov is going to be, or the route from Labrov is going to be tough. You have SkewMond who can then very effectively follow up with his own slows as well, and then it just becomes this kind of mind game of when do you actually try and burn your summoner spells to keep yourself safe.
Things on SkewMond as he walks through his blue side jungle. Has the sweeper, immediately sweeps it. It's a common ward that Yike placed there a couple of moments ago and will be swept out. He's going to path up towards top, but really just using the fact that his caps aren't up to get a little bit more vision control for G2. Now we'll path back down towards that Grom.
Slow and steady early game, 4 minutes in, nothing too chaotic happening so far. I was expecting a little bit more bloodshed in the laning phase, but credit to the KC bot lane, finding another advantage just in the straight up 2 versus 2. Ansama missing out on CS here and there, but also getting pushed underneath the tower. Ooh, Canna finds a very nice straight onto Broken Blade. Massive health swing going his way, but I expect Broken Blade to go back to base relatively soon. The timing of those bases is really important because, of course, Canna does have that TP advantage, and Broken Blade now going to have to figure out the right time to get home, spend that gold, and get back to lane. It looks like he's going to commit it now.
Yeah, it should be fine to get back up there. He had a lot of trading down on this bottom side. Like, Busio kind of taking the brunt of it. But as you said, Vedi, like, I'm kind of impressed with how much of a lead Caliste is starting to open up on this bottom side.
Has been able to farm up really well. Had the wave crashing into G2 as well. Mystic shot going between the uprights there as Yike looks for Caps, who's been chunked out. SkewMond here as well. Be a 2v2 in mid. Seismic shove missing. The Rune Prison coming down as Caps going to try and get out, but the core of the pack is too damn much. kyeahoo with first blood in game 2.
kyeahoo again on this Ryze, drawing that first blood in favor of KC. Great gank setup with the tiny bit of mana that he had left.
One of the big advantages of Naafiri is that she's just an effective early game jungler with the right setup. And kyeahoo has the perfect setup. He was trading very nicely against Caps. We know that Caps loves to play at the very edge of his HP when he's in the laning phase, and Yike is there to punish it. Great start for KC as they open up with a 1k gold lead in jungle, mid, and bot.
And you can see how low kyeahoo's mana pool was, but just goes forward, pops the ghost, means that he's able to sidestep the flick back. And Yike knows that as long as he gets 1 Q, the pack will do the work.
Smite comes out from SkewMond here. Has the goes where he pleases passive, so won't be rooted by that tether out of Busio. As you say, Vedi, 1,000 gold lead for KC early on in this game. Every lane ahead.
I mean, it's a great position for KC to be in. I mean, we talked about it in the previous game, but this team has a tendency to get early game leads. And I will say that when you find yourself in a situation where your solo lanes are really important to playing through sides, it's nice to be ahead. So the fact that they're going to get themselves another first dragon, fantastic start here for KC.
Broken Blade not wanting to commit on towards the last breath there. Does know that probably not going to end up winning out in the long run if you end up committing there. But either way, I think you're just looking at KC now, moving over towards the dragon. Should be completely fine. Like, this has been such a slow early game. I expected a bit more kind of movement, but again, when you've got SkewMond on Mundo, for G2, you kind of know, but there's not really much that we can do to impact a lot of these lanes.
You've got to remember as well that for G2, a lot of their setup comes through their bot lane. Ulti on the Ashe, ulti on the Seraphine. That's where a lot of those engages come from. And they haven't quite hit those level 6 marks yet. So once Caps opens up, he can maybe look for those plays towards bot side, a 4-man committal towards that side, maybe even threaten a dive towards the top side with a cross-map arrow. A lot of potential plays as a nice stun comes through on the kyeahoo.
There's the Weaver's wall out from Caps to try and keep kyeahoo on this side of it. Cleaver out of SkewMond, Rune Prison Overload, not enough from kyeahoo. He flashes forward, oh! The minions! The pot, the refillable potion saving Caps' life.
kyeahoo decides, am I going out or am I going in? And he says, screw it, I'm going in. He comes so close to getting a trade onto Caps, but the health pot enough to keep Caps alive.
Nah. Stop baiting us, observers. It's a mile away.
It's nowhere near. Caps walks away. 1-to-1 in kills. The gold gap closing just like that. Am I going to look back at it?
Yeah, I mean, Caps tries to use the wall to deny kyeahoo from being able to escape with a nice flick back after this. But you can see just one of those fluxes going just wide. Even Caps body blocking kyeahoo a bit. But that one Q going mistray means that Caps is able to survive.
Well, there was actually about 3 Qs that he missed. Yeah. So he was, if any single one of them had hit, obviously he may very well have been able to turn that play around, or at least turn it into a 1-for-1. But now the goal is even in the mid lane matchup. Boots completed with a couple of components. T already stacking up for kyeahoo. Yike going to be focused on this objective game as Caps and SkewMond is here to answer.
Canna has the push on the top side and has that needle work. SkewMond stepping in, trying to steal away a grub. Yike might have to eviscerate over the wall here. Smite comes out, one apiece so far. Neither jungler has that summoner spell, and BB and Caps just walking forward was enough to take 2 grubs for G2.
Heavy trades in the mid lane as well, it looks like, so kyeahoo just going to back away, but all in top.
And BB uses the wind wall to block one of the needleworks.
Still being chased.
Ignites with exchange, as you say. kyeahoo is being chased out, but hopefully he can find a pipe and get himself back towards the mid lane. kyeahoo, he gets over there. I'm sorry, that was an awful Mario joke. It was diabolical. I apologize to everyone that heard that.
It just sounded like you sneezed.
My sneeze much more subtle than that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm keeping my eyes on this top lane matchup because I'm very interested in Yasuo into Gwen. And you'll notice that Broken Blade is starting to build up a small but sizable CS lead in the top lane. He's really leveraging the shield passive to start winning out on these trades. And now that he's got a little bit more attack speed under his belt, starting with the refillable pot as well, I think he's been taking advantage of just the extra HP that he has available to him. Some couple nice side steps from Canna to avoid the knockups from the tornadoes, but Broken Blade really starting to come into his own here in the 1v1.
Canna's going to skip and slash forward. There's the way of the Wanderer's shield you were talking about, Vedi. Kind of building up the 1,000 cuts with the Realm Warp in. Broken Blade needs to get out, has SkewMond. Last breath perhaps for kyeahoo, no flash on the wind wall! SkewMond waiting in the wings! Secures a kill for G2.
The timing was perfect for SkewMond. Right place, right time. Broken Blade sets up the knock-up, the wind wall to stop any follow-up as well. And the kill goes over to SkewMond. G2 now with the gold lead.
And you still have to be careful, there's Canna because Yike finds Caps in the jungle. Caps was leaning top for a potential ult. Canna gets the wave though, and it's immediately going to reset here.
SkewMond now beginning to develop that lead that he had in game 1. Only about 200 ahead right now, but we've seen how quickly that can snowball. Eclipse complete though for Yike. The one saving grace for KC right now is that lead in the bot side. Caliste about 20 CS up. Probably 3 waves after this wave is taken by the G2 bot side. Trinity Force on its way, already has the tier stacking up, 192 on it, over halfway. And KC bot lane just getting the push consistently, but not really finding too many large inroads.
Keeping my eyes on the dragon that's spawning in 35 seconds. With items getting close to completion, you have to imagine that both teams are weighing up their options. Is it worth versus just giving up this dragon? 2-0 dragon lead if KC's able to secure it. I wonder if G2's fine with that and relying on their scaling.
I think if I'm G2 though, I kind of just look at the items and go, I think we can find it. Like, you have nowhere near a first item for kyeahoo. Rod of Age is not really going to be a big one. Hang on.
Onto Gwen here, Canna with the needlework though. There's the wind wall. Broken Blade still looking for the chase. Has that Q3 with the Steel Tempest. Now needs to get the hell out of there because Yike is on his way. A Hound's pursuit in. Broken Blade dashes forward, but the Hounds are hungry and Yike will help Canna secure the kill.
Good collapse from Yike on towards that top side. Cap
He's
trying
got
to
another
respond.
Hound's pursuit. He can just chase onto Caps, but the seismic shove interrupts it. Caps here in time to hold the wave, at least perhaps chase down Canna. Remember, no flash on this Gwen, and no way really for Yike to join him. A threaded volley goes wide. The alcove, though, not your friend anymore, Canna. Unraveled Earth unravels his life as Busio's caught with Enchanted Crystal Out, has to flash the cleaver. Does not connect as SkewMond steals away this jungle.
So we got scraps happening everywhere on the Rift. KC commits to a gank in the top lane. They are able to find the outplay onto Broken Blade and they get the kill. Canna has a full level lead over Broken Blade. Partially built up thanks to that play that happened, but he ends up having to trade his life because of a roam from Caps. While all of that was happening, G2 was securing the dragon because they knew that Yike was topside, and the gold ultimately still in the favor of G2.
And I like the call from KC because, again, you've no Trinity Force, no Roa on either of your carries. So instead, just try to make the play top. And Canna finds some decent damage under Broken Blade to set up then for the Naafiri coming through. But it ends up being super messy on the after because it's a good flash there from Yike to get around. Broken Blade tries to dash through the Naafiri to make the play happen. But then Yike kind of saying, oh, okay, Caps is roaming, tries to make the play, but in squaring up to Caps, sets himself up for the flick back. And Canna gets chased down. And with the play on bottom side as well, I think G2 going to be happy with the way things went.
No, absolutely. The only downside for SkewMond is his top camps are getting stolen, so he's like, all right, fine, I'll just cross map and steal yours. So he takes those bot camps, gets the flash out of Busio as well. The gold now very much leading in favor of both Caps and Broken Blade. But SkewMond, ooh, okay, I was going to say he's been winning out on these trades, and then he immediately loses a trade.
Caps can look up here with the Weaver's Wall. Need a skip and slash out of Canna so he can't get to the right side of it. Canna, though, wise to the fact this could be a play. Meanwhile, on the bot side, KC using their advantage to push 3 down towards this bottom side of the jungle. Look at how far Hunsummer has had to step back. Almost a full tower to the KC bot lane.
They have that ult from Hunsummer if they wanted to engage, but weren't quite certain, especially as Caps had roamed towards that top side, that they wouldn't have kyeahoo coming to join them in a second. So again, as you say, just the push on bottom side, netting a huge amount for KC here. If they keep that up, I think that is just something they can continue to put the strain on.
The thing we're seeing in this game that I think, ooh, hang on a minute, Yike has got to back
to use
away.
The Hound's pursuit. Does he have Eviscerate? Can he get over this wall? He can. He jumps across, was stunned on the way, but unable to really be chased too much more. Labrov caught out now, needs to flash. The Realm Warp on the wrong side, but kyeahoo! Oh, another overload goes wide. SkewMond kills off Yike as he chased deep into the jungle. As my 2 co-casters become kyeahoo fans, it seems the wolf is howling, but he just can't secure the kill. A true shot barrage, a true... That's miles wide again. Observers, please, only if they're going to hit.
I mean, this will be a tower for Caliste, so a gold advantage gained for the KC bottom lane. Nice try from kyeahoo, but it doesn't quite work out.
Caps was starting to roam up towards that top side, and Mundo once again was sitting in the brush, but Canna, Spidey senses have been tingling fantastically this game to keep him safe.
I love that both mid laners are being super active on the map. Caps is largely getting the better of kyeahoo in terms of the advantages that he's finding, but also I love how active the junglers are being. Constant steals and threats onto the opposing side, looking constantly for opportunities to take things away from their opponent, and using the pressure that they have to make things happen in the enemy jungle. Yike and SkewMond feel very locked in, but it is SkewMond with a 2-0-1 scoreline right now and a 700 goal lead.
It looks like KC trying to... I thought they were going to actually send Canna back to send Canna to bot side, because Rift Herald is up, and I think that's where KC would like to try and use Caliste advantage as Hunsummer.
Chipped away at good damage from Caliste as he dodges pretty much everything. Hunsummer down to 300 HP. Does have SkewMond just around the corner, but can't really do too much as Caliste continues to land the poke.
I definitely had some criticisms of Caliste yesterday. Some of his laning phases weren't the best, and his Ezreal specifically in his game 1, he eat into ranges that he should not have. But so far in this game, he's been spectacular. He's been getting so much great damage down. He's been winning out on the 2 versus 2. He is where the gold is right now for KC, and that's where you want it if you're a KC fan.
It's also a massive play because Caps has to go mid. Caps had push on bot and would have been able to roam up towards Rift Herald first. Because Caps had to rotate mid, now kyeahoo is able to get that push on bot, which means that they can start to rotate members over towards that Rift Herald if they want to. Like, it picks up a massive amount of map control for KC just off that one trade.
KC playing away from the objective. We've seen them do this a couple of times with that gank onto BB when the Dragon was up. Now looking for a gank onto Caps, but Caps wisely backs away. And talking about Caliste Ezreal, I believe it was last year when he really popped off against Hans Sama, weaved those mystic shots in the mid lane between the minions to really state his claim on the LEC.
Caps is making a play top as KC are looking at the mid. There's going to be double fights again in a second.
Caps looking for that Weaver's Wall. Canna still pretty healthy up there. Underneath the tower, there might just be a play for turret plates. Canna dives in, Hallowed missed, able to keep him from that unraveled earth damage. Size of shove will get the knockback, but it's just the crystalline overgrowth from the plates. Meanwhile, kyeahoo's pushing through bot. Gonna get some... As SkewMond is looking for Yike, who's caught out. Yike doesn't really have anywhere to go here. Jumps up with the core of the pack, flashes, eviscerates. Now Busio's on the wrong side of dodge. He has the flash too. And G2 forced 2 flashes out from KC, just being a little greedy with their positioning.
Well, so what I love about this game is it's a 1-3-1 versus heavy wave clear poke bot lane, right? And when you have games like this, your engage isn't the most reliable, so a lot of fights happen in skirmishes. Oh, hang on, Canna.
Q3 was just used by Broken Blade. Yike is on his way across as well. SkewMond's running up here as quick as he can. The flash, knock up onto Yike, he has to dash up, and SkewMond secures the kill. The dogs are dead, will Canna follow? I believe he will. Hunt Summer on the chase. Canna no way out. G2 take 2 on the top side.
The long-range arrow strikes through for G2. They connect onto Canna. It's the double kill. And again, it's these map plays from G2.
It's just skirmishes everywhere on the map, and it's G2 that's reacting quicker than KC's able to. The idea there from Yike is a good one. He's ready, he's here, he's looking to punish Broken Blade. Look at the minimap right now, but the Ashe is already hovering in the top side river. Look at how quickly Hans is moving. He's already on the rotation. Oh, we're in a fight.
Caliste immediately cleansing away. The mystic shot missing might mean that Labrov survives. It does for now. Labrov able to back away.
It's scrap after scrap, skirmish after skirmish, but every time an advantage is gained, it's G2 that's gaining it. They get the Herald, they're getting the kills. KC will finally get an objective of their own. They're going to lead in Dragons so far in Game 2. And it's going to have to be their win condition because the rest of the map is quickly starting to fall apart as these skirmishes continue to go the way of G2.
The skirmishes are going the way of G2, but look at the turret plates. Like, Caliste is getting work done in the mid lane. You've only got 2 plates left on the top side. That bot lane tier 2 nearly went down. So while that gold is in favor of G2, I think if KC can find these windows to, like, make a play on sides and get the towers, suddenly I think this gold lead can just swing straight back to even.
SkewMond does have the Herald in his pocket. Currently eyeing up the bottom side. Yike's going to face check into him. A 1.5k gold lead, and that is what that amounts to as SkewMond puts the damage into Yike, almost takes him to half HP, steps back in with Hans Sama, Labrov, and Caps here for backup. G2 have abandoned the top side, which will allow Canna a little bit more gold in his pocket. Rift Herald down. We'll get the charge, we'll take the plates, we'll take the tower alongside it. BB after clearing mid is running up towards top to try and save that top lane tower.
I like the play from G2. Just use your pressure mid, convert it into bot, secure that tower, hard push this wave in. If you can get another Rift Tower charge, that's fantastic, but if not, it's not the end of the world. They're not going to be able to get it, and now they rotate back to mid, conceding top side. But you know what? Broken Blade is actually already back in top lane. I didn't think he'd be able to get there in time. He doesn't commit the TP, he just runs there.
So Canna ended up backing away from the turret, which I was surprised at, because you saw, I believe, most of the members of G2 on the bottom side for KC, but didn't want to stick around, and Yike catches it, but it doesn't amount to anything.
He's just playing fetch.
Well, he did catch. Not going to bring it back, though.
Back in towards the mid lane. SkewMond with the Heartsteel and Deadman's play already complete, but good wave clear coming out from KC means that G2 can't push in any further.
So the problem for KC is, if you assume that both comps are very similar in how they want to play, playing through your sides, collapsing, using things like Ryze ultimate to create a numbers advantage, having Yike shadow in your lanes, the poke that comes through from Caliste, G2 side lanes are just stronger now. They have more gold. They're in a more advantageous position. And the Ashe arrow, I think, is a really big difference maker in how it can change the shape of these fights. Of course, Hans does still need to land it, but the fact that you also have the ability to scry, to get that information in the enemy jungle, where is Yike, where is he shadowing, makes it harder for KC to really make these plays on the map.
Betty, in the League of Legends IP, it's called vision. Yeah, not scribe. Just
but it's still a term that is used by witches, actually, to garner information on the location.
I was just making a joke about Rift Out, man. I wasn't trying to offend you.
And I corrected you by using adequate lore about something.
Yes, it was good.
Well, G2 are bounding across the rift towards mid lane as they try to take this tower as we get back into this.
Good one. Pretty tanky, but some damage coming out from kyeahoo. Sitting up those 2 items. One of H's 2 stacks away from being completed. Another plate will go down in mid for G2. But the problem is you can't do this for too long because Canna's still pushing up top. Someone needs to go and deal with him. Nash's Tooth on its way. About halfway there for the Gwen.
I think with the crystals, just an auto attack will take it. So that one now falls. And Canna, he has great scaling on this Gwen if he can try and get to that position. So I like the KC are investing in it.
I feel like Brokenblade just wins now, though. Maybe I overestimate the damage of Blade. Maybe it's the next time, but I felt like he was already kind of winning the skirmishes. But, I mean, for now, Brokenblade is showing restraint. He's not going to go for an all-in play.
I think it's the risk of the Omnivamp from Riftmaker and Conqueror as well, right? If you don't kill him quickly enough and Canna gets the stacks up, you're kind of fighting a losing battle.
I do also, I think at the moment, I do think Brokenblade is still winning. Maybe with the Nash's Tooth, he starts to teeter over. But I imagine by 3 items, Gwen is just so strong off that spike.
Well, my expectation is the Yasuo at 3 items should just win. I think that the Yasuo outscales. Oh, hang on a minute. Caps once again contesting these Raptors. I mean, we'll see how things play out. Canna now grouping up with his team. A minute until the Dragon. In case you want to guarantee numbers, that's the go signal for Brokenblade to shove out top. Bot lane, though, kyeahoo is continuing to push. He's about to take over to level 15. Nice interrupt on the back. Cap's going to be delayed in responding, and a tower actually just going to be picked up by kyeahoo, isolated in the bottom lane.
Easily able to take that one. I think this is where, if you can continue to push in this bottom side and actually have kyeahoo start to make rift plays towards mid, you could try to put that pressure down. Again, these turrets are next to no health in the mid lane.
Get yourself a little bit more gold. The lead for G2 has stagnated. For KC, you're looking at those 3rd items. Actualizer on its way for kyeahoo. He has had a lot of time in the side lane just farming up as much gold as possible. Caliste on his way to 3. As are Canna and Yike. On the other side of the rift, we are looking at 2 apiece. Immortal Shield Bow complete now for BB. We'll see if that 2v2 item battle on the top side ever does materialize, or whether they'll continue just to keep us on tenterhooks.
G2 constantly are trying to collapse on mid, which is giving Canna a bit of time on this top side.
Who wins? Who wins? Ignite going down. Okay, BB wins the initial trade at least. The needle works, the Weaver's Wall as they look to collapse onto Canna, and they use the knockup to give Canna his last breath. G2 collapse, and they're going to look for a little bit more. SkewMond's chasing out Caliste and Busio, the Drake, an afterthought, the Baron at the front of G2's minds.
What a collapse from Caps. I was not expecting the ultimate of Taliyah to be the setup. Caliste is going to throw his ulti down, it will connect onto Brokenblade, but I see no way that they can contest this.
Yeah, who's going to walk in? Ryze can do a lot of damage in situations like this. Hansama was caught. kyeahoo continues to stand and deliver. A turret with an encore over him, but the Mikhail's able to get him out of that CC. SkewMond healing up in the middle of it all as Hansama a little bit isolated. KC still looking for that collapse. There's a flash. There's a ruined prison. There's an overload. It's not enough. kyeahoo dodges the cycling shove in the middle of it all, but SkewMond, it's just too tanky for KC. There's nothing they can do to get through Skew.
There's SkewMond's healing, there's Labrov's healing, and there's no hope in hell KC can kill him. Everything for G2 just went their way.
It just feels like KC don't have the resources to get through this G2 composition. While all that was happening, Brokenblade even got a kill onto Yike. His former brother-in-arms ends up falling. as we look back at this play, such a nice combo. The knock-up, Broken Blade doesn't have to commit the flash because the knockback comes through from Caps, and that is the go signal to start off the Baron. The Baron is secured. KC get desperate to get something back, but it's just kill in the lane, kill in the jungle, and G2 find themselves dominating in game 2.
Last time in the series when G2 got a Baron, the game ended 2 minutes later. Here they're pushing through the bot side. KC still have tools to defend. You've got a 3-item Ezreal. You've almost got that actualizer for kyeahoo. But the question is, can you get there in time? G2 will take the tier 2 down towards this bottom lane. Will even out the turret score. kyeahoo is pushing through top, trying to get that 3rd item, searching for it. Yike looking for a flank onto Caps. Here will be spotted again. KC a little bit divided, and G2 are dividing their towers and their inhibitors from life. There's a schism in the base, and KC do not react. They just give up the inhib.
KC divide themselves, and it's G2 that conquer the base in tatters. It just feels like everything that KC are trying to do, G2 are one step ahead. Like, both in this game and the last.
With this comp from G2, I felt like that a lot of it was determined on how these early skirmishes were going to play out, and the fact that they were able to consistently get those small edges in the actual fights is what enabled them to get the gold lead, have these winning sides, and ultimately punish a lot of the plays that KC tried to do. The saving grace, the potential bastion of hope for KC is that they are at soul point. If they can secure that dragon, if they can hold the line, maybe there's a world where they can bring themselves back into this game. But even if they do, how do they get through this monster in the jungle of SkewMond as he goes where he pleases and looks to secure another tower?
Canna showing on the bot wave here without teleport means that G2 will be able to push in this tier 2 in top. Caps is looking for the tier 2 in mid as well. The gold lead extends to 7k. They will back away. They'll defend against Canna. The base will not fall on this Baron push.
G2 are separated though, 2 members now. G2 on the top side as the rest have gone back to base.
Beat drop from Labrov, dodged by Yike. SkewMond needs to get out of here. Can pop that maximum dosage in a minute, but will it be enough to help him escape? Does still have the flash. There's the dosage. Weaver's wall TP. G2 are beginning to collapse, and there's the seismic shove! Who's locked in here with whom? KC! G2 find one Caliste, trying to do the damage with the mystic shots are more mythological than actually working. Nothing is going to get to SkewMond as G2 collapse, and just as I said, it wasn't over. G2 said that's enough.
G2 can do no wrong. They looked like they were caught, but it's a fake catch as immediately G2 turn it.
It was like SkewMond said, all right, guys, I'm on the clock, you go have a break. And then he clocks in just at the right time. Look at this, 2 members in the base, Yasuo in the bot lane. KC saying, we have 4 members, let's collapse on a SkewMond. But this man, he doesn't care. Caps arrives in time, the Ashe arrow's on the way, it doesn't connect anywhere, the TP from Broken Blade, and in the 4 versus 4, G2 simply dominate.
What are you supposed to do? The collapses are constantly there. G2, every door you open, they're slamming it shut in your face. And now, as G2 once again approach the dragon, that sole attempt for KC just feels like it's slipping through their fingers.
And the small mercy for KC is G2 didn't have the waves to push in and finish with 3 members of KC dead. The Drake is up in 4 seconds time, the Baron in a minute, and KC are giving this one up. They're playing down towards that bottom side, down towards that blue buff side. Caps backing away, realizing, hey, we don't see any of them. No need to give my life away for cheap.
I mean, at this point, KC's just hoping for a miracle. A surprise pick, a big mistake. But it feels like with the way that G2 are playing, KC need to be thinking about game 3. All of the momentum that KC was riding off the back of, getting a 3-0 against GX, a 5-game banger against Koi. Naturally, people would be looking at this KC squad as one that had the opportunity to play on this stage, had that opportunity to ramp up, come in prepared, and then G2 just knock the wind right out of their sails as they look to lead this series 2-0.
But it's also a G2 that scraped into playoffs. It came down to that last game against Fnatic. It was Lost or Tones or was G2 to make it. And G2, they got there, but there was some doubts leveraged at them. But it just feels like when G2 get to playoffs, it never matters. They just step up, they bring out Yasuo and Shen top and go, all right, well, what have you got in response?
It's just one of those things. Like, so many times over the year, you're like, oh, is this the time G2 falter? It's happened once or twice. We even interviewed Dylan about it in the regular season. It's like, hey, at some point this gets boring for us as well. Like, asking you, how are you struggling? And he's like, no, we'll level up for playoffs. You have to keep doubting. You can't trust when a team only just scrapes in at the seventh seed that they will elevate to this level. But right now they run the LEC, they run KC. And as you said, Betty, it feels like game 3 more on the minds of KC than anything else. 3 items though on kyeahoo. 4 on Caps at 2.3k gold leaders. The Weaver's Wall comes out to lock Yike in the cage. Cycling shove doesn't connect, but Yike doesn't really have anywhere to go. We'll go out with the Eviscerate. Encore's going to land onto Busio, but only him. He flashes out. Canna and kyeahoo trying to collapse. Do they have the damage on Caps? The answer's no for now, as Canna is just run down by G2. kyeahoo caught up as well. He'll dive onto Caps. He gets a K in his pocket, but G2 are looking for 4.
Oh my God, SkewMond!
Another, and SkewMond just whacks them over the heads with a briefcase. It's business time for G2 and KC are left in the dust.
Caliste just disappeared. He just got one shot by the Mundo. G2, what the hell was that?
SkewMond ends the fight with a triple skill. SkewMond says that enough is enough. It's time to clock out. And G2 are looking to go 2-0 up in this best of 5.
kyeahoo can do all he wants to try and defend, but a stopwatch will not be enough for him. He almost takes that one, but even Labrov remains standing. G2, in dominant fashion, will be 1 game away from LEC Versus champions.